One thing we're going to try this year, which we haven't really tried before, is to include a few explainer videos in these modules. People do tend to get a bit overwhelmed with the amount of text we have here, so having a few videos here and there just to explain particular concepts seems to be a good way of breaking up the flow of the material a bit and giving people just that little bit of extra knowledge as they go through. So to start with, what we're going to do for this module is we're going to have a look at an example of how most of the media that we consume today can be considered a global product. And to do this, we're going to have a look at the film Barbie, which I know many of us saw last year and continues to be one of the most popular films in the last few years. So if you have a look at Barbie, one thing you notice pretty immediately is it very much is a global product. Those of us from Australia will recognise that Margot Robbie is the lead actor in the film, and when you look at the overall cast, it's mostly an Australian and American cast. So from that perspective alone, it's a global product. In fact, when you look at Margot Robbie's success, that in itself can be considered a product of globalisation, because she started with a very local kind of program, such as Neighbours, and then moved on to have a global career. So the very fact that we've got an Australian actor as the star of a big Hollywood production demonstrates the fact that we've seen the globalisation of Hollywood over the last couple of decades. But if you look a little bit deeper, you find some more global aspects to the film. So one of the things that really stood out about that film was its really distinctive look, and that was because of the director of photography, Rodrigo Prieto. And Prieto is actually Mexican by birth and had most of their early career in Mexico. In fact, the look of the film can actually be taken back to many of the commercials that Prieto directed back in Mexico. If you go a bit broader and have a look at the visual effects for the film, most of them were done by a UK company called Framestore, which actually, we should note, has an office here in Melbourne as well, but it's very much a UK-based company. There was also special effects work done by a company called UPP, which is based in Prague and Budapest, and a couple of American production houses, Powerhouse VFX, based in the USA, and Fuse FX. But one of the more interesting examples of this is a company called Fusebone, which considers itself to be a global VFX house. So it considers itself to be global by the fact that it's got offices all over the world, but it basically recruits people in a virtual way to work all over the world as well. So that's another good example of globalization. Finally, the financing for the film was done by Warner Brothers, which is a global corporation, and Discovery Incorporated, which is a partner to Warner Brothers. It also had additional contributions from Mattel, which of course is a multinational corporation. So when you look at all these things in combination, you realise that what looks to be an American film is actually a global production. And this is true of most of the content we consume today. Now, looking up that detail took about 30 minutes, and that's the kind of thing we're looking for you to do in that first assignment. So if you look at any form of content, particularly commercial content that you consume, a little bit of Google searching, a little bit of time spent will help you to demonstrate that it really is a global product. So I hope that helps, and look forward to what we come up with in both shoots and assignments. Cheers.